Okay, our time is quickly running out, so I want to get to some very important information for you. The warning signs of a pedophile. Would you know if someone in your midst was a potential abuser? I'm going to turn to Jim once again. Very quickly, can you tell us what kinds of behavior we should be on the lookout for?
There's not a lot that's really clear, but one thing that's clear is that pedophiles tend to like the company of children more than they like the company of adults. So if you have a friend of the family, someone who's hanging around your kids, who tends to prefer the company of kids rather than hanging around with you, then you need to be suspicious. And if you see any kind of inappropriate touching, you need to talk with him and the kids.
Okay, and Tricia, what I thought was interesting is you said during the break, when I was rallying against this, saying, well, why would anyone allow their kid to spend the night at an adult's house or something? You said they were mostly at-risk kids to begin with.
Yes, these kids, he was laundering these kids through this organization. It was a feeder system for his proclivity. They did not have the resources to be able to teach them about boundaries and to have a voice. So we can sit here and say that we are the first line of defense, that family is, but these particular kids were extremely vulnerable, which makes the crime all that more offensive. So it does fall back to other adults in society. We have to be better educated and we have to be better drilled on how to respond. And as Mark said, there has to be a clearer system of reporting and safe harboring.
So you're saying that this was preventable if we as a society and certain individuals would have taken certain steps.
And if the kids had the language, this all happens before they have the language to speak of it. Now we have to educate them on how to push back in a way that says, I matter, stay back.
And the laws have to be tougher too, right, Mark?
Absolutely. New Jersey is an all-report state. Anyone who suspects child abuse must report it. Pennsylvania, it's not. It's more complex. Also, the protections for Pennsylvania for people who report it are not as great. It has to be clear. It has to be clear so people know what to do, know if they suspect it, call this number.
Okay. We asked the question, what would you do if you came across a situation where you thought a child was being abused? And I'm going to share just a few of these responses with you because people are so incredibly passionate about it. Chris says, when it comes to children, you have to do the right thing regardless of the situation. Children are unable to speak for themselves, so you have to stand up and do the right thing no matter what the consequences. David says, this could have been reported to the Child Help National Child Abuse Hotline. All calls are anonymous and confidential. They chose to put their heads in the sand. And some of the emails that I've gotten already during the show where people are just outraged that nothing more was done, absolutely, I mean, you can just feel the anger that people have. What do you think the end result of all of this is going to be now? Will Penn State be able to move forward, or does it have to have a complete cleaning of the house, so to speak?
I think there's probably going to be a cleaning of the house. That it's such a huge public outcry now. I think it'd be difficult for Penn State not to change a lot of their policies, not to change a lot of their administrators, not to have teaching conferences so that they teach their teachers how to recognize sexual abuse, how to report it. I think that'll probably happen.
So they're going to have a teachable moment as well.
I hope so.
If they don't use this as a teachable moment, they may not be able to move forward.
I think they're also going to revisit this model of college sports and education. It's long overdue, decades overdue. It needs to be looked at.
So many comparisons to the Catholic Church where people protected the institution over the lives of children. Do you see that parallel?
Well, there's the power. There's the famous institution of Penn State football. And it goes back to people being afraid who are witnessing or hearing about child abuse from coming forward.
And you know, it's the end of the era of blind faith. We need leaders who lead and who are not just invested in preserving power. And this could be a good thing. It could be as we move forward. That's what happens. The change happens.
All right. Mark Manta and Tricia Ferrara, thank you so much for being with us. Dr. Jim
Pleasure.
Pettigo, always a pleasure to have you with us. And you make a very difficult subject easier to deal with. You mentioned a book, Tiger, Tiger. You say people should read that if they have small children.
If you're interested in this from the perspective of a victim, the book Tiger, Tiger is excellent.
All right. On that note, we thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you the next time.